Evening, everybody. Welcome to the public safety meeting for the city of Hudson, April 16th. And can we have a roll call, please?
Alderperson Alms.
Here.
Alderperson Hall.
Here.
Alderperson Morset.
Here. All right. Minutes from our last meeting. Are there any corrections?
I'll move to approve the meetings from February 6th.
Second.
And from, well, I haven't finished my motion, and March 12th.
Second.
Any discussion? Any corrections? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Carries. First item is ordinance adopting downtown parking utility commission. So we all know that came from the council meeting of last. To come back and go through it, talk it out a little bit. I know it's going to be kind of difficult to do it this way, so let's try to keep our comments kind of defined, and then we'll go from there, if that's all right.
Sounds good.
So for the most part, as the chairman of the Public Safety Committee, I like the way it's laid out thus far. Are there any other opinions on that?
Well, I've got some concerns about the makeup of the committee.
So you're talking C2?
C2, yes.
All right.
Okay. So, all right. So where it says the Public Safety Committee chair shall resign his/her position on the Downtown Parking Utility Commission if that member ceases to be a member of the Public Safety Committee. I think that should be if that member ceases to be the chair of the Public Safety Committee. Because we want the chair of the Public Safety Committee to be on that committee, correct?
That was my assumption, but I'm assuming if you're not on that committee, you're no longer part of that board.
Right, but somebody could be on the committee, but then no longer chair the committee. But according to this, I mean, it's unlikely that it's going to happen because you aren't that many times that somebody would be taken off of chairing a committee. But if that happened, according to this, they could still stay a member of the Public Safety Committee.
Well, how would you want it worded, or what do you
I would just change where it says ceases, if that member ceases to be a member of the Public Safety Committee, I would change that to if that member ceases to be the chair of the Public Safety Committee. Because they would be replaced by the new chair of the Public Safety Committee.
Say that again. I was just reading it.
Okay, so where it says, if that member ceases to be a member of the Public Safety Committee, I would change that to if that member ceases to be the chair of the Public Safety Committee.
I guess I'm trying to figure out what's the difference. Bill, do you got an opinion?
Yeah, it sounds, I'm kind of in agreement with that change. It sounds like we're defining the person who sits on there as the chair of public safety.
Right.
So it should just be the chair, whoever's the chair of public safety should be on this committee.
Is that what you're saying, Joyce?
Yeah, well, that's okay. That's what the first line says. All right, the chair of the Public Safety Committee shall be appointed to the Downtown Parking Utility Commission. But then it says the Public Safety Committee chair shall resign his/her position on the Downtown Parking Utility Commission if that member ceases to be a member of the Public Safety Committee. I think you should say if that member ceases to be the chair of the Public Safety Committee, because they would be replaced by the new chair of the Public Safety Committee.
I guess I don't necessarily have a challenge with that. Again,
I just think whoever's on that committee, just to simplify, whoever's on that committee, is this what you're saying, Joyce? Whoever's on that committee is the chair of public safety.
No, because the public safety chair is appointed separately. Okay, so
but it would be their chairmanship would be the appointment to the utility.
correct. Yes.
That's the way it's.
So they're not appointed to the Parking Utility Commission. They are appointed chair of the Public Safety Committee, and because they are that chair,
They're the representative.
they represent the Public Safety Committee on that Public Utility Commission. So if that person is still on the Public Safety Committee, but is no longer the chair, then they should no longer be on the Parking Utility Commission. But that's not the way this reads.
And we want a representative on that committee regardless if
Yes.
it's the chair.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
So but it's the chair that's going to be on that committee.
The way it's written.
Well, to me it's fuzzy because it's written that yes, the chair of the Public Safety Committee shall be appointed to the Downtown Parking Utility Commission. But then it goes on to say that, but it doesn't say that if the member ceases to be the chair of the Public Safety Committee, it just says if the member ceases to be a member of the Public Safety Committee. So I just think that this would be more clear that the person on the Parking Utility Commission from the Public Safety Committee is the chair of the Public Safety Committee.
Okay. So
I'm
You want
cleaning
the
up
word-
the language.
yeah. I don't have a problem with that. Do you, Bill, or anybody else?
I don't have a problem. So again, it's the chair of the public safety is also on the commission.
Correct.
What the issue was partly because if either of us are not on obviously that committee or whoever, then somebody's got to be there from the safety committee.
Right. So the Public Safety Committee chair would be, all right, so let's say that,
His designee or her designee.
no, I'm talking about, let's say that, Randy, you decide that you are just too busy to continue as Public Safety Chair. So you step down as Public Safety Chair, but you're still on the Public Safety Committee. All right. The way that this is worded, since you're still a member of the Public Safety Committee, that means that you would stay on the Parking Utility Commission.
Yes.
However, we want the chair of the Public Safety Committee to be on the Parking Utility Commission, correct?
I don't have an opinion one way or the other on that. I think anybody represented.
Or should we? Okay, well then we should go back to the earlier line here, saying that instead of saying the chair of the Public Safety Committee shall be appointed to the Downtown Parking Utility Commission, then it should say a member of the Public Safety Committee shall be appointed to the Downtown Parking Utility Commission.
Well, I'd like to see maybe the public safety chairman or their designee.
Okay, so then the chair would appoint the person or recommend the appointment rather than the mayor.
Well, I think that's what it is. That's what we're getting at. Is this a mayor appointment from the public safety, or is it a public safety appointment? So the way it's coming from, I guess, the mayor's office, or the way it came, he wants it to be the chairman. So that's what we probably should stay with. Am I reading that right?
Yes, that's what you're. Yes. So and the mayor makes the appointments to everything. So we have to be clear as far as what we want on this committee.
I think and or designee. I mean, we're all busy. We all have things to do. adding another meeting or a minute. And maybe that will mess up the continuity of that committee or the utility. So maybe we need to just keep it.
So if we are, I mean, to Joyce's point, this needs to be a mayoral, an appointment by the mayor, correct?
Well, the way it's written from his office, this came from, or wherever.
Is the public chair.
The mayor would appoint the chair of the Public Safety Committee, and that person would automatically be on the Parking Utility Commission.
Correct.
Is that what we want, or do you? It sounds like Randy, you're thinking.
I'm fine with that, but I'm just looking down the road for anybody else. We're all busy. We all have other meetings.
So if I may, so we have the EMS oversight committee, right? And the way that contract was worded was that it would be an appointment by the mayor from the city of somebody who sits on public safety, right? So I think we're having the discussion about who is that designee? Is that somebody from public safety who then the mayor names from public safety? Or is it just automatically the chair? And I think we should do one or the other.
Yeah. I like the first part of what you said. He names the person. And in this case, it's the chairman. And in EMS, it may be a member of public safety.
All right. Well, okay. How important is it to you, Randy, and Bill, that it is the chair of the Public Safety Committee, or does it matter?
To me, I don't think it matters.
So should we just take out the part where it says the chair of the Public Safety Committee shall be appointed to the Downtown Parking Utility Commission and change it to a member of the Public Safety Committee shall be appointed to the Downtown Parking Utility Commission?
Bill?
You're going to pass to me. Okay, so look, to Joyce's point, let's say the job of public safety by that chair is too much for that person sitting in that chair to also tackle parking. So maybe it should be done by appointment, that they just have to sit on public safety. And we go through this every year, as you know, we're doing the organizational meeting. Maybe it should be just a yearly appointment, and that's not necessarily the chair, but it's by name.
And I think that it's good that somebody from the Public Safety Committee
be the person,
be the representative. Yes, because for example, like the park board, it doesn't specify that it's somebody from the Public Works Committee, and those two are tied together.
But the park board chair is a member of the plan commission,
right?
So It's the same kind of thing.
So it's one of those kinds of things. Yep.
So I guess I really look to you, Randy, because I've never been the chair of public safety, so I don't know. Does it feel like to you that it's something that somebody can handle both easily?
Yeah.
Oh, then it should just be the chair.
It is, but I'm just trying to keep it a little more flexible.
Okay.
But I'm fine with keeping it the chair. But then you could always say, well, see, I'm talking on both sides, the chair or the designee, And maybe that's just to keep it simple. Maybe just keep it the chair.
Okay. Then if we keep it the chair, then in the several lines below that, then we would say if that member ceases to be the chair of the Public Safety Committee, that they would have to automatically resign that position.
Right.
Okay.
I agree. Yes.
All right.
I do think, if I could chime in, that Randy's point that it gives more flexibility if it's just a member. I know I'm not asking to revisit the whole topic, but that was a really good point, that building flexibility into the future is a desirable thing.
I don't have a problem with.
That's why I think maybe if you say and or the designee, it gives you, the appointment is the chairman, but then if that for some reason can't do those duties, then designate the next person.
So then the chair would determine who is the
The
But
person,
ultimately, the
representative.
mayor is appointed. The chairman of the public safety committee will be the member on the utility. But if we change it to and/or designee, then if for whatever reason the chair can't, he can. So I don't know. I think that would.
Are you thinking in terms of a long-term appointment or a short-term appointment? So like you get
Either
busy
way,
for
it's
a couple
year.
months.
Either way,
A
it's
year. A year, okay.
because you're on that committee for a year.
Yeah, okay. So then, so you want to
Is
change
appointed by the mayor, public chair, and/or his designee or their designee.
do you need to delineate that the designee, though, is a
From
public safety member? You know what I
From
mean?
the members, yeah, from the
Oh.
three,
'Cause they
whoever
can't-
the three are,
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Or they're a designee on
public safety committee.
public safety committee.
Okay.
So you can't just designate.
No, yeah, no, just it's one of the three of us.
Yeah.
Make sense? No? Clear as
Yeah, it
mud?
does.
Clear.
It just
All I need
we have to be clear so that
Since when, Joyce?
I don't know. I kind of like our laws to be pretty clear on as far as what they really are saying. I don't know about you, Randy.
I try. Smile, Jeff. All right, so are we in agreement there?
Yeah. All right. So then that means that the Public Safety Committee chair will either be on the committee or will decide who will be on the committee in their stead.
Or designate? Keep
Yes.
it legal, right?
Yep. All right. So what I've got is, so then the chair of the Public Safety Committee or their designee from the Public Safety Committee shall be appointed to the Downtown Parking Utility Commission. So then we would go back and we would take out, and we would leave that next line alone, saying if that member ceases to be a member of the Public Safety Committee.
striking that statement, right?
No, we would just leave that as originally written, since the designee could be a member of the Public Safety Committee. It's no longer necessary to have that word, the chair, or the words, the chair, in there.
Yep.
All right, so are we in agreement on that then?
Yes, for now.
Okay. For now. You always have the right to revisit it, huh?
Mhm.
The next one is, all right, so other membership of the Downtown Parking Utility Commission shall be as follows. One representative of a downtown restaurant. Is that appropriate? What are your thoughts?
I don't have an issue with it.
Okay. And one representative of a downtown retail establishment. Any problems with that?
No.
Okay. Only one of which can be a Chamber of Commerce member. Why would you have only one of which can be a Chamber of Commerce member? I don't understand that part.
I think that's just to show that there's a diverse, we have a representative from the Chamber of Commerce. Do they work together? It's kind of leveling the playing field, if that makes sense.
Okay. Let's revisit that
Okay.
after we've talked about some other things, because I've still got some other concerns about this. All right. One representative from the Chamber of Commerce, Board of Directors. How many are on the Board of Directors for the Chamber of Commerce?
Was there 6? Oh, it's got to be on 5.
I don't know. Okay. So,
I'm not sure offhand, Joyce.
okay, but about 5 or 6. Okay. But, okay, so then the Chamber of Commerce shall recommend its representative to the mayor for the appointment. Okay. But here's some issues. You got one from a downtown restaurant, one from a retail establishment, but there's no representation for the other businesses or services downtown. Because this doesn't really include like the legal offices or other areas. And,
A
you know, I mean,
majority
it
of-
says,
All right, a majority of those have the designated parking.
oh, okay.
So what skin would they have in the game? I mean, yeah, they have customers, but you're allowed to go park in their designated parking.
Okay.
And you know, the chamber is going to suggest who to appoint. So maybe that could be one of the service people.
I really think that the District 5 alderperson should be on this committee as well, because they represent the downtown area.
I'm not sure I agree with that. Just because we've already got 2 representative council on it.
What?
Where's the
Oh,
two?
No,
I'm sorry, 1.
No,
I'm sorry.
1. You've only got 1.
What'd you say, Bill? No?
No, that wasn't me. That wasn't me. I'm just listening right now.
I'm not sure I agree with that, Joyce.
Sarah, your thoughts?
Well, I'm surely the one that got the most phone calls and received the most feedback when I both visit restaurants and retail shops around here, but I'm getting the phone calls. And
we all
I
have.
actually think, well, quite possibly so, but, for a downtown business owner. So in addition to, we've got insurance companies, we've got a lot of law firms. A lot of these places don't have their own parking. So there are other business classes. There's a lot of salon services, and those don't have, many of those don't have their own parking. So I think there's more representation needed. And I think that the person who represents District 5 lives in District 5. It's the closest district to downtown, and it includes the whole downtown area. I think it just makes sense that there's other committees where there's 2 representatives from council on, so it makes sense that there would be the chair of or a representative from public safety, as well as whoever is the representative from District 5. I mean, they're the ones with their pulse on downtown.
No, don't say that. Everybody has their pulse on the city.
But there is no denying that District 5 is covered by the alderperson in District 5. I mean, that is their representative on council. And some of those people aren't, the business owners are not necessarily residents of Hudson. So it would make sense that they're represented by the alderperson that represents their building. There's also landlords that house, that are property owners that don't necessarily have their own business. They're just landlords. So that could be another pool of people that might be candidates. I just think that a majority of this committee, that we need at least 4 people from the committee that live, breathe, and work downtown.
Well, Sarah, unfortunately, you would also have a conflict of interest being a business owner down there, representing parking for your business. So I think that disqualifies you.
Not necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she would certainly have that perspective.
I I don't have that's covered on page 2 of this, where it says no one can have a pecuniary interest in the contract.
No, I'm looking
So I
outside
would,
the scope of the ordinance.
as someone, I wouldn't be making any money on any policy, so I'm not really sure how I would be disqualified.
I would have to refer you this particular point to our city attorney.
Right.
So let's move on to that point. Bryce, do you have another?
Yeah, Sarah had some other points. I'll let you make your points, Sarah, unless you want me to.
Sure. The reason why I wanted to attend today is just to be heard as far as the makeup of the committee. By having, I feel very strongly that there should be at least 4 people of the 7 that have something to do with downtown. I don't think 3 appointees from the city at large, those people might never come downtown. They might not know the troubles with our parking. That's not a requirement. So I feel that at least 4 of the people, and we should take it from the business owners. And so as far as that goes, then if you're saying that I couldn't be because I have a business down here, then we can't pick a retail person and a restaurant person either, because they have an interest in having good parking. You know what I'm saying? If we can have a downtown business and a downtown retail,
But they're
I don't think we would be.
They're not setting policy, Sarah. So let's leave that to the attorney to decide.
Okay. But I just think that this makeup, when you look at what, you've got 2 of the 7 right now are tied to downtown businesses. I'd like to see that increase to 4 of the 7, one way or another.
Are you talking about the 3 representatives from the city at large?
Mm-hmm. Taking 2 of those and putting them, asking, we have smart people downtown, the attorneys that are down here, the insurance companies are down here. We have banks down here. The representatives don't need to be people that don't have their own parking lot. The people on the committee.
So I just want to kind of make sense of this. So once this committee however this gets passed, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding. From this, the mayor is going to make these appointments. Is that correct?
Yes.
And we have a say in voting on those 3 representatives, correct?
We can vote yes or no on them. Yes.
As a council, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so I guess that is what I would suggest back to you, Sarah, about those 3 representatives from the city at large, is that we have the ultimate say at who those city at large people are. So I don't know that we have to go down this rabbit hole of changing that.
Well, we're not changing it. This is just a draft, so it would just be editing this draft so that the first ordinance mandates who is on the committee. We're not changing an ordinance, we're writing one.
I think it's good to have some qualifications as part of this appointment process.
What do you mean qualifications?
Well, for example, the District 5 alderperson, that is somebody who represents that area. They've got, that's a good.
Yeah, that's not a qualification.
It's not a qualification, but it's a, it's a quality. Anyway, I'm not going to argue semantics, but they've got an interest. So, you've got 3 representatives from the city at large. I guess I would feel more comfortable having some kind of qualifications for them, that they have some kind of interest downtown, or they have some kind of parking expertise, or they They understand the issue, or they have some tie to downtown. So changing one from
you're excluding the rest of the citizens that may have an input. Who pays for this ultimately?
We're not excluding them. I'm not saying take it down to zero. I would just recommend one representative from a downtown restaurant, one representative from a downtown retail, one representative from a downtown professional, one representative from a downtown service. Then you have all business sectors of all the communities downtown. You got service, business like an insurance company or a lawyer, and then the retail and the restaurants. So you've got 4 different kinds of businesses, and each sector now has someone at this table talking about the parking policies that will govern all of the businesses downtown. Just makes sense to me.
Well, I don't have
the
way you laid that out, I don't have an issue with that.
So then you have the chair of public safety, the representative from District 5, I would still put that on the table, and then one representative from the city at large. That will be the representative for the rest of the people in the city.
Can I ask a question on the District 5 representative? How much of the parking is representing the people that live? In other words, how many of the parking spaces are in front of residential, and how much is it hindering the residents?
Well, the summertime.
Well, absolutely. I mean, in the busy summertime, the parking on the side streets in District 5 is substantial. It absolutely is substantial.
Yeah, it's run all the way down north and then all the way up to the east, big time, Bill, when there's events down there.
And sometimes even when there's not events.
Just walking.
Yep, or the beach parking and things like that.
So I'm not saying that I necessarily agree with the Alderperson 5 being in there, but that would be the only reason, in my opinion, to have Alderperson 5 in there, is the representation of those people. But I also look at this as the Water Utility Commission, right? We all use the water. How many representatives do we have on there from council? We have 1, correct?
Right.
So I don't know. We all use, to Randy's point, all districts utilize downtown.
And I don't want to get so far in the weeds with this. It's already presented to us. Let's not try to recreate the wheel here. We have a good starting point. The way, Sarah, you laid it out, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
The only question I have is the representative of another representative from District 5.
Well, you could make the conversation summary to the council and put it to the council and the mayor. It's either, these are the 2 options you've looked at, which I just read, the 1 retail, 1 business, 1 restaurant, 1 service. The chair, I'm holding up the chair of public works, and then there's 2 more spots.
Melanie, you
so
right? I hope.
Pardon me?
Melanie, are you writing this down so we can move that on?
Melanie, you're muted.
I don't see Melanie on the screen at all.
Yeah, she's here. Melanie?
Oh, okay.
Now she has that. There, that's better. Now we can hear you.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure you're getting what Sarah's laid out there.
Yep, I got it.
So the only question we have moving this along is that we need a clarification from city attorney. I would feel a lot more comfortable on that certain representative, and I'm not sure 2 on it, 2 council members on it would be I agree with. Go ahead, Bill.
I think, Sarah, to your point, if you want to bring that up in conversation at the council meeting when we bring it, but yeah, I wouldn't want to recommend 2 council people on the commission.
Okay.
Not to say that you don't have the voice in this, you know.
Well,
Right.
whatever we send is going to be subject to whatever the council decides anyway.
Exactly.
So
Right.
it's not necessary for us to make a determination because it could be changed at the council level.
Well, a recommendation is always, we do our work here to move to council. You know
Yes.
that.
Yes.
At least we try to. So that's a recommendation that we would make. Is there any other points moving on this one? Sarah? Joyce?
No, the only thing, it's been really great to have input from a parking expert, someone who actually, studies parking.
Somebody
and,
like Nick Coliani.
Yeah, but I don't know that, it's not like they're a dime a dozen and we can find one if we run out of Nick, So.
Well, I would say too, as you look at appointments, I don't know that a parking expert would have a vote, so I don't know that they would be an appointment.
Well, and then we would probably have to pay them if we were going to require somebody to be a parking expert.
And Nick
I think that's. What's that?
Nick is a resident. He volunteered to help.
Oh, I know. I mean, I hope he's appointed to the committee. And I think that's what, the mayor should be looking for, people who have parking experience if possible. Let's see. So I think that the rest of it I don't really have too much of a problem with, except for I'm wondering if all right, so I guess I'd like some clarification on Part D. The mayor has the authority to approve courtesy ticket days for promotional and seasonal events. What does that mean? Oh, the other question I've got is which city department head would be the person who would be handling this committee?
Jeff.
It would be Jeff?
Yeah, that's where it is now. And
Okay.
As far as D, Joyce, the mayor's always had the proclamation appointments of designating holidays from this. It's like no parking during the holiday season. The mayor's,
okay. That's a mayoral duty. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify what that really means.
That's all it is.
Okay. Then because it seems like this overlaps with both Jeff's duties and Mike Johnson's duties.
No, Jeff, do you want to jump your role at overseeing the parking?
Can you repeat that?
Well, she asked you what your role is with parking. You are an overseer or the manager of the parking as it is. Mike Johnson and Joyce got into it just to help us lay out the new system.
Okay.
Right. The deployment of where the meters are located and what the lots are, the zones, and how that all works. But the oversight and enforcement, et cetera, has always been handled by the law enforcement.
Okay. All right. So then, is that usually in an ordinance that it would be under the direction of the police chief?
It is.
Is it in the ordinance here?
It's in a separate one than this, I believe, right, Jeff?
I think it is.
So it's covered somewhere else, not in this one.
We'll
Right.
double check it.
Okay, so yeah, if it's not, then I think that should be added to this ordinance to make sure that it's clear that this will be under the direction of the police chief.
Okay. All right, let's move this on to council for further consideration and our input and recommendations. So do I have a motion?
So are we, what are we recommending to council? Are we recommending a change in the mix of representatives then?
The first one we talked about as far as representation as the public safety chairman.
Right, yep, I got that.
That one. And then the way Sarah laid out the representation, we are agreeing to move that on to further discussion to the full council.
Okay, I'll make the motion to move that on to the full council.
May I ask a question of Melanie, though? What is the delineation that you have written down about the membership that we're moving? Or what is your understanding, Joyce?
You're talking C2, the first point we talked about?
Second point.
The second point.
What's
the list of people?
Yeah, the list of people. What are we changing it to specifically?
So
we're
suggesting,
Yep.
considering,
yeah.
adding the District 5 alderperson, adding a representative from the services downtown, and
One professional.
one professional.
It was, yeah, it kind of read something like this. One representative from a downtown restaurant, one representative from a downtown retail establishment, one representative from the service sector or a service establishment, and one representative from a professional business establishment.
And that does not, or that does include the representative from District 5?
That was a separate conversation.
separate.
Is what
So
Joyce
then-
delineated was the district representative for 5. So I just want to know what the motion is before I would.
Okay. Yeah, so if we
So,
we have four business,
We
we would have 4 business members. We would have the chair of the Public Safety Committee. We would have a representative from the Chamber of Commerce. And we would have,
6.
and then we would have the District 5 alderperson. That would be 7.
But we're not recommending that. That's up for discussion and clarification from city attorney.
Yeah, these
So
are
then
the,
the last one is from one representative from the city at large.
all right,
And
so,
that's fine. We'll just bring District 5 in for the conversation at council. I'll just bring it up then.
Yeah.
all right.
I would like to reach out to the attorney before the next council meeting. To Randy's point.
We'll get this meeting's minutes to her as soon as possible. Bill, are you going to second?
Yes. Second.
Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we'll recommend those things. And the conversation about District 5 rep is a different conversation to have. Hopefully with an answer from city council, attorney, I should say, before our next meeting. Okay.
Okay.
Next item, reassigning the dive team operations to be commanded by the Hudson Fire Department. Jeff, is this you?
Yeah, yeah, me and Scott both. More so me. So when we first took over the dive team as the police department, right, it had to do with St. Croix EMS being dissolved, right, because that's where the dive team used to be located under. The reason that we took it on is because the coordinator of the dive team was a supervisor on my department at the time. I believe we talked at length back then that I talked about how it didn't really make sense operationally because of the rescue idea and the recovery idea when you talk about a law enforcement dive team, as well as just the jurisdictional issues that we have, because the sheriff has ultimate jurisdiction over any recovery efforts in waterways. So once Sergeant Hartman retired, our department was essentially left with nobody that has any idea about dive operations. Nobody's trained in dive training. Nobody is a master instructor. Most of the dive team members are firefighters from other locations, first responders, EMTs, that sort of thing, people that do rescue. So I was talking to Aaron about what his thoughts were about the future of the dive team and how we could move forward keeping the dive team. And we talked about transitioning its fire because council wants a dive team. Everybody, I think, wants a dive team. I think everybody understands we need a dive team, and it should be more of a rescue-based team than a recovery-based team, because rescue-based teams are what save lives, right? Plus, we don't have locally any jurisdiction as a recovery team. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, keep going. Okay. So we were talking about that. I was talking about that with Aaron. He told me to talk to Scott. He thought it made sense. So Scott and I have been in communication, I don't know, over the past couple of months about this idea. And I think we have a plan to make that transition smooth. It's not going to happen overnight. And there's some other things that we'll have to discuss along the way. But from an operational standpoint, wanting to stay with the rescue effort of a dive team, I think it makes more sense to have it under the fire department who does rescue than the police department.
How long do you think the transition will take?
Well, I would say generally it would be about a month, but we have Scott moving from one facility to another facility, which is
He's got a lot on his plate.
Yeah, it's taking some time. So we could hope, as Scott and I were talking, Scott, please correct me if I'm wrong, but we were hoping sometime by June 1st, but most certainly, July might be a more realistic outlook.
Who's the interim coordinator now?
Well, I guess it would be me.
Okay. And then is there somebody that would step up as coordinator in the fire department?
I think there are several people. In my opinion, there's really one qualified person to do the coordination that's a member of the Hudson Fire Department. Mm-hmm. There's also a membership on the current roster that's very excited about what they do. I don't know that they could do the coordination of it because they don't have the teaching and instruction certifications and the safety certifications that are required to be able to teach and train diving in swiftwater currents in a river scenario where you have floating debris and low visibilities and high currents and things like that. But there's one person that happens to be on the Hudson Fire Department that I could see. But that is probably more of a question for Scott, to tell you the truth.
All right, Scott, I know you came kicking and screaming with this one, so what do you got?
Randy, you're confused. It was kicking and screaming with excitement. It's just, you must have taken it wrong. No, we've had this discussion, and obviously the city administrator had some input and a lot of good input. And part of my, I shouldn't say resilience, but is we have a lot on our plate right now. But I think we will make it work. And part of the reason we'll make it work is because Jeff and I work well together, and we're going to make it happen and be successful. I don't see any wholesale changes immediately, but I do say this: once we delve into it, more than likely it's going to look a little bit different than it did just because of the makeup of our group or whatever direction we decide to take it. we don't have to, it can be part of the fire department as it is, stands right now. So we can just have it as a separate entity and manage it, or we can bring it into the fire department. That's some things that I have to look into a little bit further. One way or the other will make it work, but it's just how it's going to look. And you'll probably see some changes over time as it kind of evolves and we get our arms wrapped around it a little bit more. So that's kind of where we're coming from. My only concern, I mentioned this to Jeff a little bit, was Glenn Hartman was coordinating for him. And I believe it was, correct me if I'm wrong, 4 hours per week. And that was coming out of the PD budget, not out of the dive team budget. So if we do get a new coordinator and when, there probably is going to need maybe some additional funding to fund that coordinator spot, since Glenn was kind of picking that up. I don't necessarily think it has to be at the same rate or anything, but some type of compensation. And I actually I've asked a couple people to put some numbers together and haven't had them back yet, but that might be one thing, is possible more funding for that coordinator position. I think otherwise the budget looks pretty good. Jeff and I went over it. I think the operational budget probably should work where it's at. So that's my only question, but moving forward, this year probably going to look a lot like it has been. Next year, the year after, may look a little different after we kind of get into it a little bit more.
Scott,
Okay.
do you think it could be a position that is partially dive and partially something else on fire?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things. I think once we get settled into our new place, see where we're at, how we're operating, what we may or may not need, and that's why I'm hesitant to just jump in and make changes right now. It's operating and it's functioning, but let's kind of make it a little bit more of a holistic approach and see long term what's going to be the best fit for the fire department, the city, and then the partners that we may work with, or I'd like to work with. That's like in Washington County, they have several fire departments I'd like to work with. So we have to see what's the best fit for everybody and take our time a little bit to make sure that transition's smooth. So you're exactly right, Bill. It's a great point. That position may entitle a few other responsibilities within the fire department if we go that route.
What kind of timing are you thinking on your end, Scott? You want to get into the new building before you take it on? And with that,
Sure.
I was thinking 2035 or 2036 originally.
Nice. Is that your retirement?
Yeah. But Jeff and I talked today, and we were thinking June 1st at the very earliest, or July 1st, because we're kind of planning on moving June 1st tentatively. So, but yeah, somewhere in that time frame. And like I say, I'll basically be assuming what Jeff has and continuing to operate it as it has been for the near future, and then look at it. So there's going to be no wholesale changes immediately. We want to really take a good look at it and just kind of keep going the way it's been, been operating for years, and then try and build on it. What's best for the city.
Great.
So do you guys want a formal recommendation out of public safety, the council, to switch it over to fire department? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, that was the idea, because the council made the vote unanimously to not only keep it, but to keep it under the fire department. So just to keep every sheet of music, we wanted to take it through the public safety channel and then to council. Just so everybody understands what the idea is.
So I'll recommend that we move the dive team from the purview of the police department to the fire department at the time of staff's recommendation. Does that sound about right that you're looking for, Jeff?
Yeah.
I'll second.
Any further discussion, Scott or Jeff? John?
I have nothing. This is Scott.
John, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I think that's a good move. I agree with everyone. It makes sense to have it with the fire department.
Okay.
They'll do a good job with it. Not that the police department wouldn't be, but Chief Willems is right. It makes sense to have the fire department doing it.
Yeah, it does, and we all know why we did it the way we first did it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and it made perfect sense then, right?
okay, all those in favor of the motion? Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes for recommendation to council. Thank you. Next one is it the speed hump policy, or is there a different issue?
No, I got a complaint from a resident near Burlow Curve who was concerned about the people driving on Carmichael near the intersection. So there's two intersections of Burlow Curve with Carmichael. One has a stop sign, four-way stop. The other one does not. And he's concerned that people are not slowing down in that area. And he's concerned about the pedestrians crossing the street there, particularly the kids.
Jeff, do you have anything to add to that? And then we'll go to Dean, I'm sorry.
Well, I'll let Dean go.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys. So the couple, I guess I approached as two separate requests, one for the speed hump and one for the stop sign. Maybe I'll handle the speed hump first and then the stop sign, and we can discuss. So attached to the agenda is our draft speed hump policy. Again, I'll underline the word draft. So we haven't adopted this. Obviously, this would be something that would go through this committee, probably also Public Works, and then the council to approve. So, and that has not happened yet. However, we have put some thought into it, and this is kind of where we're at right now. The draft policy kind of gives some layout as to, what streets would be better homes for speed humps than others. So some of the things that we're looking at is like, our streets, which streets are meant to be slow moving for traffic and which ones are not meant for that. So personally, I have a view that more of the streets in town should be meant for slow moving traffic than maybe some other people do. But anyway, there's a list of some suggestions on there as to which ones I would say are not meant for speed humps because of that. Then there's also the question of, whose jurisdiction is the street. In this case, it is our street in this area. Transitions to county highway fairly shortly east of here, but the intersection itself is within our jurisdiction, so we don't have to worry about that. So there's other factors too: pavement characteristics, street grades, placement near curves, et cetera, et cetera. So just going through some of the characteristics of the streets there, both Carmichael and Burl Oak are 25-mile-per-hour streets, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
I have this in the draft policy. There should be a speed study conducted before we, say that we're going to throw a speed hump out there. And we have not been able to do that, partially because right now the traffic flows out there are just wacky, because right now there should be school going on and there isn't, so that really affects especially this area.
Well, Dean, didn't we have that study done with the Carmichael corridor study? Wasn't there traffic counts in there?
Yeah, there's probably traffic counts in there, but I'm talking about more speed.
Yeah.
Yep.
That wasn't in there?
I don't believe so, no.
Well, if the black box is available, I think that it might be worthwhile getting some data now just to see what speeds people are running at in that area. Another thing, I took a drive down there just to see what was going on. There, it is a school zone, and it's labeled a school zone, 15 miles per hour. But you know, that school zone is actually pretty lengthy because you've got the two schools and the parking lot in between. And so I'm thinking that maybe another school zone sign on both sides, on each side of Carmichael, might be worthwhile putting in to remind them that they're still in a school zone, in order to slow some of the traffic down. I don't know how effective that would be, but at least that would be something to remind them.
Yeah.
Joyce, was this a big concern now, or more so when school was in session? Because the school zone only applies when there's children present.
Right. But now, does it apply if school is not in session, but there are still children present?
Yes.
Yes. So if kids are walking in that neighborhood, it still applies.
Yes.
Okay. The resident just said that, you know, he just has noticed even now that people are still, well, especially now because there are fewer people around, but they're just traveling at high rates of speed through that intersection. So it'd be nice to have some data just to verify his observations and know what speeds they are.
I can get you count and speed data. Just, you know, understand once this whole, and it's, you know, we'll talk about it on the next issue too, but once this whole safer at home thing gets lifted and we get back to quote unquote normal, we'll have to do it again because it's going to be very different data.
Oh yes, but it's just I think it would be worthwhile getting some data just to find out what's going on at that intersection now.
I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Thank
don't
you.
disagree with that. I just, like I was saying, and Jeff was saying, it might be totally different once we get to say
Sure.
September.
Yes. And hopefully it will be back to normal in September.
I also wanted to say there's a section there about emergency vehicle access, and our draft policy says that speed humps should not be installed on streets that are defined or used as primary emergency vehicle access routes.
And that one is
EMS, you know, would have some, you know, say as to what those streets would be. Not going to, you know, say that they're all the streets in town, but, you know, some of the more major ones. And I guess I would envision that this section of Carmichael would probably be a main emergency vehicle route. So that would be a concern / consideration about putting a speed hump on Carmichael here. Mm-hmm. So that being said, I think we should collect some more data and come back with some recommendation one way or the other on this. That's just my 2 cents on the speed hump.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dan.
If I may also talk about the stop sign part of this too.
Yes.
So I also wanted to say that the stop and yield sign policy attached to the agenda is the old one, not the one we just adopted in January. So it's different than what's in the agenda here. I'll just maybe quickly go through, you know, what we've adopted as policy for additional stop signs. So there are stop signs controlling Burl Oak, but not on Carmichael at this intersection that we're concerned with right now. You know, our policy says that we're going to, you know, follow standards in the what we call MUTCD, which governs when we can put stop signs out somewhere. It says that we will do an engineering study to determine whether it's appropriate or if another traffic control solution would be better, or, you know, et cetera. Again, because the characteristics of what's going on out there are vastly different than we are normally experience right now. I don't know if that engineering study, if we collect the data right now, would exactly, you know, we could make some like assumptions. We could try to fit some data to it to get a decision sooner. It's just that if we collect data right now, it's not going to be exactly representative of when school is in session, and that's a big change in this area in particular. I can do what I can to get as much of the information has not changed, such as, number and angle approaches, if there's a curve around it, reported crash experience, et cetera. Like, that's all stuff that we can get with the condition we're in right now. But the vehicular volumes and speeds out there would be different, I think.
Is there anything that we can do short term to slow people down in that area?
Well, we can, do visibility exercises out there.
Okay. That would be great.
Yep. I don't know if I'm guessing there's not, you can put up those like stop for pedestrians in intersection, those signs that go like in the middle of the road to kind of catch people's eye. They're like the ones that if you hit them, they flop over and pop back up kind of thing.
Oh.
I don't think those are out there, but that would be something we could try as well to catch people's attention.
We can try it.
Yep. And I mean, those are fairly cheap as well. So
it doesn't work in the winter, but.
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
Is that a marked crosswalk out there? I haven't been out there to know.
There is a marked crosswalk on the western side going across Carmichael, according to the Google map, but not on the east side.
On the western side.
Well, Carmichael curves. So it heads north and then it heads east.
The first one. You're talking the first one.
I'm talking the second. The second.
The second one, closer to the city limit.
Yes. So at that point, Carmichael is going east-west or almost east-west.
Why don't we just recommend to put up a sign for now and get the crash or the speed study
And get the speeding. Okay. I'll make the motion to do that. Oh, and also to install another set of school zone signs along that curve.
Okay.
I'll
Is that okay? Any further discussion? Seeing none, aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We'll recommend that. The next item, speed calming measures for 9th Street between Vine Street and St. Croix Street. And that was from Jeff.
That was for me. Joyce, do you want to start off with that one again? Or?
Sure. I got a complaint from a resident on 9th Street that they was between Vine and St. Croix that people are driving pretty fast along there, and they would like us to do something to slow the traffic down.
Yeah. That's kind of always been a get through town real quick down to St. Croix Street.
Yeah, no different than 7th Street. 7th Street has very similar issues between Vine and St. Croix.
I would suggest we start with enforcement first.
Okay.
And then if it rears its head again, then maybe take a different action. You know how I don't like hanging signs everywhere. It just kind of gets redundant and people start ignoring them.
I know there aren't easy solutions on these things, but
yeah, I don't disagree with that, Randy. I would also maybe suggest that this would be a better candidate for a speed hump than, say, Carmichael would be. So if enforcement doesn't work, or Jeff's guys can't be out there 24/7, so it's still a problem. Like, this could be a place we try a speed hump or something like that in the future.
Once we get to that point, right? Once we have a possible speed hump policy.
Do you want
exactly?
Okay.
Do you want traffic volume and speed data in that area as well?
You might as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
I think that would be also knowing that it could change, when things change back to normal. But so maybe we'll do it twice. But yeah, it doesn't hurt to do it.
I think it's the same concept. It's gonna. I think the traffic volumes, especially on 9th Street, are very much higher during school time. So.
I'm not sure we need formal action for Jeff to do that, so.
Okay. Well, so then, yeah, I'd like to see this brought back and revisited when we can get better data.
Okay.
Do you have a recommendation as to when you'd like to see this stuff again, so that I can kind of alert myself?
Well, when you have data, it would be nice to see the data and discuss the data.
Well, we'll just put it on the next agenda because we don't know what our committee assignments will be after tonight.
That's
So
true.
Okay.
we'll go from there. Thanks, Jeff. Are we on the announcements or am I missing anything on the agenda? If not, we'll go to the EMS. Mr. John.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Good. I sent out some information for you guys today. I don't know if everyone saw it because I sent it out late in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I'll just kind of go over that quick. The first thing is just our EMS operational period, kind of giving you a situation report to how things are going during the COVID experience we're all having. So when you just follow that form, basically everything is business as usual for us. So right now there's no issues with staffing. We've not had any absenteeism. All of our shifts have been covered this whole duration since the COVID-19 started. We've not had any mutual aid requests during that time frame, which makes sense because our volumes have been down. We are very limited in the PPE supplies, just like everyone is nationally. I think we're doing okay. We have what we need in the situations that we need stuff for our first responders. We can take care of them. It's really a day by day type situation with our PPE type equipment. One of the changes that we made last Thursday, and I think it's good for you guys to know, is we were recommended by our medical directors to have all of our staff, when they're working or in the ambulance, to be masked. And the issue with that is we're burning through a lot of equipment then. So the policy is that anytime any of our staff are at work in the ambulance bases, they need to be wearing a mask. So the appropriate mask to be wearing is just the homemade type masks. And the reason that we're doing that, the big push has been, if anyone on our workforce becomes ill with COVID type symptoms, they look back 4 days back of the people that they've worked with, and potentially they all get quarantined as well. So, you could really deplete your workforce if you weren't taking these measures. So we started that, like I said, on Thursday last week. The reason we're doing that is if someone does come down with COVID symptoms, we don't lose the rest of the workforce, because if everyone's been compliant wearing their masks, then we don't have to quarantine everyone. So you'd watch the other workers to make sure they're okay. So just kind of some reassurance to you guys that we're doing what we can to keep our workforce moving forward without any issues. Any questions on that?
Yeah, John, this is Scott. I have a question.
Yep.
Do you recommend us to have our firefighters, when they're in the same apparatus, be masked up?
Yeah.
It's kind of.
Yeah, we do, Scott. And again, that's coming from our medical directors. So all the departments in Washington County have started that. So even now, Stillwater Police Department started it this week, on Monday this week. Stillwater Fire Department did it. They had a fire I think it was on Friday night or Saturday night, and Chief Glazier was saying that everyone that responded to the station all put masks on before they came in. They got in their turnout gear. If they weren't wearing their SCBAs on the call, they had their masks on. So everyone's being very compliant with it. I was at a meeting at Stillwater Police Department on Tuesday, same thing. I walked through the station, everyone was masked. So it really is the recommendation right now. It's uncomfortable and it's not fun to do, but hey, we're all doing it.
Yeah, and it's obviously it's a limited amount of PPE everybody has. In the past, they recommended not. So I just wanted, if that's best practice now, we'll try to move forward and do the same. So obviously this changes by the minute. So if that's the latest, we'll make the effort to do that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And John, correct me if I'm wrong. I had a meeting today. I know there's now 11 COVID-19 in St. Croix County.
Yep, correct.
The hospital was still at 0 patients.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. The next form I'll go to is we'll just talk about response times. So that's the monthly graph that I've been sharing with you guys. You know that we noticed a pretty significant drop in our response time in a good way. And that's really caused by the new base, our new location. So we do a lot of calls right around the hospital, and a number of them calls that I was seeing since we moved in up there have been a minute or 2 minutes for us to get on scene. So that's a good thing. So on that graph, I have both the average response times, which was 3 minutes and 47 seconds. And then our fractile, the 90th percentile, was 6 minutes and 52 seconds. Now, the other caveat to that is our volumes were down a little bit, but still those are really good response times.
John, does that have a lot to do or some to do with the fact that your base, you're right there and you can hop in a rig?
Yeah.
This is walking across the street. Is that part of that, or?
Yeah, you know, we were averaging at City Hall, and with the ambulances at the fire department, we were averaging a little over 2 minutes just for that walk, just from the time we receive the call to the time we get in the ambulance. So we're back to our 90 seconds or less being in the new base.
Gotcha.
The other, yeah.
Are you monitoring the time between the when the ambulance crew first gets an I am responding message or something like that? So the time from there to the time that they get the official call from Alina?
Yeah.
How's that going?
The county's been doing good. For whatever reason, and I don't know if they've had a reduction in maybe some of their dispatchers with COVID going on. I know they did some modifications to their shifts up there. I've not talked to Terry about it yet, but in the last week to a week and a half, we've noticed some long delays. But our crews are going en route, and I'll give you an example of that. Last week I had a couple of calls that were I think Bridgewater, right up behind the hospital. We had 3 calls in there that all 3 calls were, our response time was less than a minute. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's, you know, that my system flags that when I see that, because that seems impossible. But then when I look at the I am responding times, that's what the crews are hearing, the I am responding, and they're going en route. And then by the time our dispatch puts the call out, they're almost on scene. So we are responding immediately when St. Croix County's putting that call out.
Okay, so there aren't any calls that are getting lost in the shuffle at this time?
We haven't had any that have been lost in the shuffle or issues with them not dispatching us.
Okay. Yeah, so do you have copies of the data, or is that something that Terry's got?
Well, Terry's got all the data. I mean, I have our data.
Okay.
But I mean, is there issues or concerns?
No, I just know that, when we negotiated the contract, that was a concern that I had, was that we continue to monitor this to make sure that
Yeah.
there aren't any calls that are getting lost in the shuffle or problems with anything. And no, I haven't heard any. I don't have any issues. I just want to make sure that it's being monitored.
Yeah. Yeah, it is absolutely. I mean, anytime I send you any of our data, feel free to verify it with Terry.
Okay.
Again, for us, to give you data like we used to give, where every single address is on there, that is very time consuming and takes a lot of time. And right now, during COVID, I don't have time to do that. But if that's, something that we need to do, then I would just request you do it on your end and I'll do it on my end, and you can compare that.
I'll give Terry a call when I have a chance and just talk to him about it and see what he says.
Yeah.
I'll follow up that way. Okay, thanks.
And actually what I can do is I can also take that, Joyce, to the EMS Oversight Committee.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I can
because Terry's on that committee.
Exactly. I can ask Terry for that data as an overlay of that, so to speak, from the data that we get from Lakeview, which reminds me, we have to still set up that, but we'll talk offline.
Yeah, and I was going to bring that up too, Bill. I mean, I don't know obviously we're not going to meet in person,
right?
For that meeting. So I've not made any plans or picked a date or anything to do that. So we can certainly talk about it. I'm very open to that.
Yeah, we'll connect offline and we'll get that.
All right. That sounds good. The other graph I gave you was just our response numbers per week. Again, because people are concerned over the COVID response and what the difference is. So that graph shows you from the first full week in January to current, the 12th of this month. And you can see that we had a couple of weeks there where our volumes really dropped off. But otherwise, our average number of calls per week are 37. So we only had a couple of weeks there where we were down, and then the rest were back up to average. Overall, our volumes, we had 3 weeks ago, we were down almost 50% in normal run volumes. But the last 2 weeks, it's jumped back up again. So right now we're running about 10% of our call volume less.
John,
yes.
Sorry to interrupt you there. And I don't know if you can really talk to this. This would be probably more of a question to our dispatch. Do you know if they're doing a little bit of a different sort of triage of those calls because of COVID?
Yes, they are.
About
yeah, so they're doing a pre-screening. There are some rules around that. The governor, Wisconsin governor, approved some legislation that they can notify first responders if there's known COVID cases in a residence. But and Jeff, if you know, or Scott, they can't air it over the air. But they can put it out on a CAD note, or they'll have the crews call into dispatch and give that information. So the same holds true in Minnesota. They approve that, and all the dispatch centers we work with are doing that. But, the bottom line is we treat everyone as though they have it. So our treatment's the same.
Got it.
Any questions for John? Is that it, John? Or?
Well, one more thing. Sorry. So the last one is the surge plan. I sent that to you. I won't go over that whole thing with you, but you guys feel free to look it over. If you have questions, call me, talk to me about that. But this is our surge plan. If this thing goes bad, which the way it looks to me right now, it's not, but people that are a lot smarter than me and and know
Sure.
this stuff inside and out. They're telling us in a couple weeks, we could see our spike. I've heard 3 different things. In a couple weeks, we'll see our spike. And then I heard mid to the end of May. And now just as of today, I heard end of June that we'll see our spike. So we have no idea. But this surge plan that we put together shows that Tier 1 of this plan is our normal day-to-day operation. That's how we're staffed right now, every day, and that's how we're operating. When we get up to Tier 4,
I have a question. Is this for Tier 1? You're getting about 32 to 42 calls per day for your whole service area. Is that what you're
Correct.
saying? Okay,
Yep.
that's what's my question. Mhm.
Yeah, it's total operation. And then up to Tier 4, we'll have 9 ambulances on the road. So every one of our ambulances will be staffed and somewhere out on the road. And that seems like overkill. But with all the Valley hospitals between Regions Hospital, Lakeview, Hudson, Westfield, and Amory, we're probably going to need to support all of those facilities and move patients. So this was a recommendation from all the committees of the hospitals to do that. And the reason that we staffed up to 9 is our goal is to always retain the 911 system. So we always need to keep that in place, but knowing across the country, response times could be 45 minutes. There could be situations where nobody gets an ambulance because everyone is busy. So this is countywide. We're working with all the ambulance service directors in the county weekly. We have a conference call weekly. Tomorrow we have a meeting with Chief Willem, St. Martin, North Hudson. So we're always trying to keep everyone informed with what's going on. We're going to talk about this plan. There's potential that if things got really bad, patients could be transported by police. They could be transported by the fire department. Our goal is to never get to that level. I'll be out on the road. Bridget will be out on the road. If we need those vehicles to transport, we want to keep law enforcement and fire doing their thing and not have them involved. But we have to talk about it in case we get to that point. So that's why I shared that with you guys, so that you could just see what our plan is. We've already scheduled up to Tier 3. So if we need to pull the trigger to go to Tier 3, our full-time staff are already scheduled on that. It took us 2 days to fill that schedule. So our staff are very willing to pick up those shifts. So it's not like they're on call. It's just the schedule's done. If we ever have to pull the trigger, we notify them that we're at Tier 3 and they're working. So
how many hours a week would they be working if you went to Tier 3?
Get to Tier 3, it's going to be 16 hours extra a week.
Okay.
That each of them would do.
And then how would you determine when to go to Tier 2? Is there a certain number of days in a row that you would have so many calls?
So Tier 2 is between 42 calls and 55 calls. We would add that extra 16-hour truck on the street. Yeah, 16 from 07 to 2300. And then at that point, we put one of our field training officers in a response vehicle as well. We actually started that last weekend. So on the weekends, we have a lead person that can go out either in front of the ambulance if they're coming from a ways out. But again, we've been seeing normal volume, so they're just there as a support person now. Does that make sense?
It's good to know. All right. Fire updates. Scott.
You probably fell
Are you
asleep.
there now? Sorry. There we
There you
go.
go.
No, I was having issues. That was riveting, John. That was exciting. I was on the edge of my chair.
Yeah.
No, just to kind of build off of what John said a little bit, they've been keeping us in the loop. Obviously, we've been meeting constantly with other fire departments, EMS, police, and tons of meetings like everyone's been having. Lakeview has been very respectful of not overutilizing our resources unless they're needed, which helps us, minimize our exposures. We're, been pretty busy. We have good turnouts. One of our big questions is every time we get a group or a call, we have the average of 20-some people. So have a little bit modified response plan. We send a truck out with 4, try to keep them separate, keep people in the parking lots and keep their distance. So we have a modified plan that we kind of go over every week and see as need be. Obviously, after today, we'll figure out some way to get masks. We're short. But that's a question quick for John. The homemade masks, how long are they using those for?
Well, you should wash them as much as you can, but I don't know what the recommendation is, but if you don't want to be using those masks for patient contact. So
Okay.
They're not the homemade masks, even if people say, oh, I made a HEPA mask out of a homemade mask, which people are doing with the vacuum cleaner, HEPA vacuum cleaner liners. Regardless, it's still not considered an appropriate PPE. But to be amongst other firefighters and that, you're fine. Any patient contact, you want to have the appropriate PPE. And when we talk about that, goggles or eye protection is very important in this. They've proven that the COVID has been passed through eyes. So you want to protect your eyes as well.
All right. Thanks. Yeah, so we've been obviously really busy at the fire station too, trying to make that transition with all this going on. It makes it a little more difficult and a little more time consuming, but we're still hoping by mid-May to have control of the fire station and kind of around June 1st, moving some type of operation in there. Just kind of hats off to all the firefighters who just, keep coming in and we've been busy. A couple weeks ago, we had like 3 fires in one weekend. So it has been busy. Our total volume, maybe down, but our severity is probably up a little bit. So just like I say, busy and just kind of keep a lot of communication, which is good. So a lot of calls, a lot of Zoom. I've learned how to use Zoom like probably a lot of you have.
And Scott, clarify the burning, what's going on with burning in the city of Hudson?
There is no restrictions, right? There is no restrictions, so you can have a 3x3 fire. And I suggest people to go to the city's website and go to the fire department. And we have our ordinance, Troy's ordinance, the township's ordinance, and the village's ordinance, which are all different. So if you're listening to this, you don't live in the city, your burning ordinance is different than the city, and it's spelled out really clear in the link in our fire department website. So I suggest you go there.
Thank you.
I also wanted to mention too, Scott, thank you for making that call. I think that does a lot. I know I'm speaking for my residents and probably all residents of the city, just the mental health aspect of being able to go out, have a little campfire. I think it's tremendous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know if it's been mentioned or not, but we also have kind of weekly meetings with a lot of department heads and the mayor as far as kind of more infrastructure stuff with public works, parks, police, water, sewer. So we're doing that every week too, and kind of making sure we're all talking amongst ourselves and the mayor and the city administrator. So those meetings are also going on.
Excellent.
Thank
you.
All right. You're welcome.
Jeff.
Well, we are 3 weeks into our emergency COVID schedule now, where we separated our department into teams of essentially 7 people. So the same 7 people have contact with the same 7 people throughout the week, and so on and so forth. That's been working really well. We have had a couple of exposure cases where we've had a couple of people in quarantine, but thankfully they have not developed symptoms or had any negative results from that. So we'll hope that that keeps going on. I've been talking to, and maybe you can talk about this too, John. We got a donation of 1,000 KN95 masks today. I've been in contact with St. Croix County Public Health to see who needs them because, I mean,
Yeah, needs them.
90% of those need to be redonated to somebody else. But I don't know. From what I can see from 3M's website, is KN95 and N95 are very, very similar. It does appear that the KN95 might allow more outside in through the mask. I don't know if you know anything about that, John.
No, so Stillwater PD was asking the same question. They someone had contacted them and said this was just approved to be used. And does that one have the like the cool breathe thing on the front of it?
No, it's just like the standard N95 or it's
Oh, it is, okay.
mask, but it's not a preformed.
Yeah,
Not preformed like the N95 one is. It's
a fold up.
Yeah.
Yeah. The best way to look, I don't know right off the top of my head, but the CDC has a whole list of all the approved masks. So some of them, there's some of those out there that are N95 and it's for sanding or painting. Those are not technically approved for PPE, but you can wear them and it will work to protect you. But those have an exhalation flutter valve on the front of it. So if you cough or breathe anything that goes out of that mask, then you're defeating the purpose of it, right, if you know what I mean. So if it doesn't have that, then it probably is. But CDC, I'll maybe look tomorrow. We're going to be on that call tomorrow. Maybe I can find something out before that call.
Okay, that'd be good. And I know Public Health is looking into it too because they hadn't even heard of them before. And someone showed up with 3 boxes of these things at our front door, and it's like, yeah, we'll take them, but
yeah, right.
So I just didn't know if you had any insight on it at all.
Yeah, and it's the N95, right?
Yep, KN95.
Yeah, all right. I'll see what I can find out for tomorrow.
Okay. But other than that, the governor, as most of you know, sent out the new order that will extend our safer at home order till May 26th. It does relax or offer some more flexibility than the previous order, where non-essential businesses can at least open to do deliveries and to do curbside pickups. It sounds like some recreational activities are at least partially going to be able to open, so that's good. We are seeing a significant increase with mental health issues and domestic violence type issues, which 3 weeks ago we knew we would. So we're battling through those issues, but more or less everything is going the way we thought it was going to go. So I guess that's good in a sense.
Okay. Well, I want to thank all of you guys, the EMS, the fire, and our police officers, your first responders. Appreciate it every day, what you guys are doing out there, doing what you have to do. So much appreciated on behalf of the city.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Randy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Randy.
Any other announcements moving forward or our next meeting?
May I interject an informational item just real quick?
Sure. Sure.
I'll try to make this really short.
No, you won't.
I'll try. I might not actually succeed, but okay. So, as you know, as the mayor has alluded to in previous meetings, we can kind of convene this 54016 task force. We just had our 4th meeting this last week, and it's leaders within our community from different sectors: government, healthcare, business, energy. And so it's a means to identify gaps in services, things that don't exist that now with COVID potentially hitting our community. What are the gaps? How can we fill those gaps? one of the things that was identified actually in that first meeting was delivery to people's doorsteps, be it seniors or people at high risk, people that don't want to go out to public spaces. The result of that was launching the Rotary of Hudson, both the Daybreak and the Noon clubs of Rotary and Hudson, combined forces and partnered with Operation Help, which is an organization local here in Hudson, to a website and a Facebook group that basically takes all volunteers to matching them with people that are in need. So you can go to www.hudsoncccr.com, and we're also on Facebook there. And then also as part of this big group meeting on Mondays, we are now kind of putting our focus on the communication gap to our community. And so look for some more communication to come out kind of citywide on that. And then also the other piece that we are really working on tackling is mental health. As you know, the governor coming out with extended period of time with stay for at home. We're very concerned, of course, from a mental health standpoint. So we're looking at trying to fill some gaps there. So just wanted to give you that quick update. Again, it wasn't that quick. Sorry.
No, it's a good organization you started up, Bill. You're doing a good job. And the resources that people need, it's evident that it's needed out there. So it's much appreciated.
Of course.
Yeah, excellent job, Bill.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else for any information? If not,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, everybody.